I was reborn to the day I decided to adopt them, the three people who would eventually kill me and my child. This time, I closed the door to the Rolls-Royce and drove away. In my past life, I supported the bankrupt Clark brothers. However, after I became pregnant, they allowed a poor student, Kimberly Scott, to push me down the stairs, where I bled profusely and died while carrying my child. When I opened my eyes again, I was reborn on the day I had brought them into my house. This time, I kicked them out without hesitation. To my surprise, Kimberly had teamed up with my grandmother to pretend to be the real heiress, painting me as the fake heiress who had taken over the family. The butler, Mr. Williams, who had watched me grow up, came forward and accused me of causing my parents' death. Under the public backlash they had orchestrated, I remained calm and presented my evidence. Not only did I expose Kimberly's fake identity as the heiress, but I also revealed the true faces of my grandmother and Mr. Williams. I avenged my parents and gave the wrongdoers the punishment they deserved. The bankrupt Clark brothers, whom I had been financially supporting, stared at me with disgust on their faces as they stood outside the slums. Jason Clark, the older one, said, "Emma Stout, if it weren't for Kimberly, why would we bother with you?" Alex Clark, the younger one, added, "And Bodzier, if you don't take Kimberly with you, we won't go to your house either." If this happened earlier, I would have definitely apologized hurriedly with teary eyes, but unfortunately for them, I had been reborn. As I looked at these three people who had caused my death as well as the death of my unborn child to seize all my family assets, I felt a surge of rage that transformed into a cold smile as they stared in astonishment. I swiftly closed the door of the Rolls-Royce. "Then you can stay here and live happily with Kimberly. After all, I have nothing but money, and I am not worthy of your affection." Upon hearing my words, the three of them fell silent for a moment. Jason frowned and asked me with a hiss, "Montos Amelia James, what exactly do you mean by that? Don't forget that you were the one who begged Alex and me to accept financial aid from the James family." I stared at Jason with a meaningful gaze. Indeed, I was the one who had begged them to accept it in my previous life. I had always prioritized Jason and Alex and was ready to fulfill their every request. After the Clarks' bankruptcy, businesses that had once been closely affiliated with them distanced themselves, but I was the only one who did not hesitate to offer my support. To make their lives more comfortable, I brought them from the slums to my home, and I even agreed without hesitation when they asked to bring Kimberly along. Later, I had married Jason, only to discover while pregnant that he was having an affair with Kimberly. I lost control of my temper, but before I could confront them, Kimberly pushed me down the stairs, and I began bleeding heavily from between my legs. Jason, however, only cared about Kimberly, who had pretended to faint from fear at the sight of blood, and he rushed her to the hospital. I begged Jason desperately to save my child, but he coldly pushed me away and told me to stop making a fuss. He warned me not to try such lowly tactics to gain attention from him and his brother. I died along with my unborn child while the three of them shamelessly took over my wealth and continued to live a life of luxury while feeding off my money. My poor child never even had the chance to see this world before being tragically taken away in this life. I would make these shameless people pay. Alex showed no concern and gave a cold snort. With a knowing expression, he patted Jason's shoulder. "You actually believe what she says? She's just jealous of Kimberly and trying to force us to compromise with her tactics." Kimberly realized that something was wrong and got out of the Rolls-Royce she had just entered. She looked at me with dissatisfaction. "It's a broken emerald pendant. I know you don't like me getting too close to the boys, but don't forget you were the one who insisted and pushed us to accept financial aid from you. You really shouldn't use this to threaten them." She huffed angrily, and her eyes teared up as if my insult had infuriated her. Alex quickly stepped forward to comfort her and shot me a fierce glare. "Amelia, you better apologize to Kimberly. If she refuses to forgive you, don't ever think you will earn Jason's and my forgiveness." Jason clicked his tongue in annoyance and walked toward the Rolls-Royce. "There's no point in arguing with someone like her. Let's just leave." I picked up the broken emerald pendant from the ground, stood up, and called out to them, "Stop right there. Did I allow you to ride in my car?